Hey, everybody, this is Micah Lieberman once again from Scope and also from Clinico. And I do these fun videos with clinical research leaders and people doing interesting things in clinical trial innovation, clinical research. So hopefully you've seen some of these videos and learned something or learned more about someone. Today, I have the privilege of talking with Nasha Fitter. So Nasha has two roles. One, most of you know her as the CEO and co-founder of the FoxG1 Research Foundation. And I think that origin story is family member, ultra rare disease, becoming an advocate and learning the ropes through absolute necessity. I think that's a journey that some people can relate to. Secondly, something newer is she's the co-founder and chief business officer for Citizen Health. And we're going to talk more about that. And that's a newer thing, very related. So Nasha, welcome. And I want to tell people how we met. We met at Scope
Yep.
through our buddy, Craig Lipset. I had to just say that because we all know and love Craig.
Love
We
them.
did a panel at Scope talking about patient-driven research,
That's
not
right.
pharma. Okay, so that's the setup. Welcome to this world. Nasha, bef- give some context because I am assuming everybody knows. Oh, Fox G1, I know what that is. But will you talk about two things? Will you talk
Mhm.
about kind of how you guys at Fox G1, as a disease community, not a pharma company, not a CRO, kind of took ownership and developed your own gene replacement therapy? Tell us a little bit about that, and then let's transition to Citizen Health. So tell us the story because I think it's amazing.
Okay, so we realized pretty quickly that no pharma company was interested in our condition because we did not have enough patients. And so we immediately had to figure out how to do this. We also knew that we didn't have the ability to raise 100 million to 150 million dollars to get us to approved drug, which was our focus. We didn't care just about the clinical trial. We want to get to an approved drug so we can help all patients with FOXG1 syndrome. And so we knew we had to start doing things differently. Luckily, I have an entrepreneurial background, as does my co-founder in the foundation, Nicole Johnson. So we were able to really look at how are things being done now and how could they become more efficient. And for us, we have no incentives but our kids' lives. So we were able to question all types of things. And I've always been like that my whole career. And one of the biggest areas was data. There's so much time and money wasted in collecting patient data, understanding the endpoint. So many trials fail because you pick the wrong endpoint. You can't recruit the patients. We knew that we could solve for that. And so that really led us to starting Citizen, myself, and now there's a whole team of people behind Citizen Health. And that is a platform that first in rare disease started with FOXG1
Yep.
and a couple other advocacy groups trying to do things differently. We got our patients onto the platform. We created a user experience that was actually nice, which is rare in healthcare. And we started collecting everyone's medical records and the entirety of the medical record. I mean, everything, EEG
Mhm.
tracings, MRI images, all of that stuff. And then started using machine learning before it was now everyone's talking about it, but
Right.
pulling out information and then having, nurses and practitioners review that to create these longitudinal natural history studies quickly. So in 6 months, we could create a 10-year longitudinal natural history study, understand the patient population, figure out what endpoints could be. For FOXG1, we always thought our primary endpoint was going to be seizures. After we did, and this is me being a parent with a child
Right.
and other parents with children, were like seizures, obviously, primary endpoint. That's what any pharma company would think also. After we did this work, we were able to see the frequency of seizures was all over the place. The start and stop was all over the place, and seizures were not going to be a good primary endpoint. Had we picked that, I'm sure that our trial would have failed. So now movement disorders and looking at movement in a different way is our primary. That's just one example of what happens when you can collect the right amount of data early. What I see pharma companies doing incorrectly is they wait too long to start learning about patients and patient symptoms. It's much more focused on the biology of the disease and figuring out if you can, regulate the candidate. And then you pick the wrong endpoint, or you find out that actually this is never going to work. I'm never going to be able to recruit anyone for this trial. It's just so much money gets wasted. So that's what we did at Citizen. We were successful. Chan Zuckerberg Initiative had given us the initial grant. Today, I'm really excited to say we were able to raise our Series A, $30 million. We have over 80 advocacy groups on the platform. We're publishing natural history studies at rapid rate. We work with over 10 pharma companies now utilizing the data. And so I think that, our journey with FoxG1, just trying to solve something for our children, has led to something that is, I believe, a really important innovation just in this field generally.
It's huge. And by the way, that was at Scope. We had the Chan Zuckerberg Foundation on the panel as well, which was great.
Yep.
Because let's talk about something, which is you originally were focused on a very specific rare disease, and you have a very engaged community.
Yep.
So let's say I am from a completely different, I'm in oncology, I'm in neuro, I'm in something else.
Yep.
Is the process the same? Meaning, if you have tell us more about it, because you're bringing a lot of advocacy organizations, disease communities on. What does that mean for them to be successful? Do they need a certain level of commitment and engagement from a very tight community who's sharing data? Do they need to also have the caregivers plus some of the researchers and physicians that have been involved? Like, what does that look like so that those communities in very different areas can understand how to do this with you? Because this is amazing, right? So how do you, what guide, if I was the head of this disease community and I've been involved and I have a very loyal group of people, we have some physicians and we've got data, but we're still waiting on pharma.
Yep.
I'm not bad mouthing pharma, but that's the model, right? We're trying to advocate to get our research going. Tell me, what do I need to kind of come to you with? How do I help myself?
The most important thing, if you are a new advocacy leader, is exactly what you said. Your job is to get your patient community organized and excited that you have a vision to help them. And for us in our foundation, we have 3 pillars. We help them by supporting them day to day. We help them by gathering data to help understand the condition, and we drive drug development. You may decide you only want to do 1 out of 3 or 2 out of 3 or all 3. It's up to you as the leader what you want to do for your disease. But something that pharma cannot do is reaching out to other families, other patients. So that is your job.
Okay.
You do that. That's your power. You can now join a platform like Citizen, where we will help you how to recruit patients to a natural history platform, explain the benefit. We have just launched an AI advocate, so now patients can use and actually start talking to their medical records and get benefit. One of the biggest problems is most patients do not care about research. Do not care, do not care, do not care. Mm-hmm. So we are now developing tools to help them with their day-to-day, which will excite these patients to come to the platform. And then guess what? Once you have a lot of patients on the platform, you could do better research studies. So my first thing would be join a platform like Citizen so you can get your registry and natural history work going. Mm-hmm. And then you could start, and yes, getting the clinicians on board, getting your researchers on board, all of that is really critical. And at Citizen, we have the data now that you could provide to clinicians, to researchers, so they could start doing things and understanding your disease and publishing on your disease. And then it's up to you if you want to invest in a biobank, creating a mouse model, a cell line to do any biological understanding and drug development. So that would be what my...
Okay. And you mentioned a word too, which is, this is your power.
Yes.
That's true. I don't think people understand that. I think especially if you're suffering or if a loved one is suffering, the last thing you feel is empowered.
Yes.
The last thing you feel. So this isn't just a positive message. This really, data is power, especially in this case. And you can't always wait for somebody to come to you and say, hey, I got a plan. Do you want to join this trial? That's so the concept of patient-driven research and trials is a real thing. Exactly. And you mentioned the 3 pillars. The last pillar is, hey, it might take years. Different communities are at different kind of stages of development. This community might have been active for decades. They've got an enormous group of people who are committed, plus the clinicians, plus they understand the research. It's a positive loop. They might have a biorepository going. Now they're ready to go to the next. They're coming with something to find possibly a partner. It's a partner in a biotech, possibly. Could even be a CRO. You don't know, right? So that's exciting. There is a power. the last pillar you mentioned, you may or may not be at that stage where you actually want to do drug development. How does that look? Am I right where you could partner directly with a CRO? Are you often, not you, these groups
Yeah.
looking for a partner from a sponsor organization who might have some experience developing drugs in that specific area? I don't know. It might be too broad of a question, but I'm going to ask it, Nasha. What does that look like?
Look, we decided to do that work because we thought we could. No one was helping us, and we wanted to push it forward. And by the way, when we started, I felt like I had no power. And everyone I talked to said, hey, FOXG1 kids, there's too much, that's happened in the brain. You'll never be able, no, pharma's never going to be interested. Don't bother. And we just didn't buy that. And we started our work. We talked to a lot of people. The good news now is that there are so many groups that have done this work. You don't have to reinvent the wheel, right? I have learned so much in the process, made so many mistakes. You don't have to put an RFP out and fund 10 academic institutions to understand the biology. No, you don't have to do that. You have to build one good animal model, one good cell line, depending on your disease, and figure out, what you really need to figure out is, can I regulate this gene or genes? Is there a way to regulate the gene? And there's certain steps that you need to take to do that. My biggest advice I give to new groups is, don't get carried away talking to academic researchers. Go to a CRO like a Charles River or someone else who's worked with patient advocacy groups, evaluate your disease and figure out. There's not that many ways to cure a disease right now. You got a small molecule, you could do an ASO, or you could do a gene therapy. So figure out quickly what are the experiments you need to do to figure out what could work, and then put your eggs in that basket. Work with the CRO that you could trust to get yourself to the next level. We wasted many years in academia. And the truth is that academics are incredible at thinking of new ideas. I mean, CRISPR was born out of academia, for example, right?
Right.
When it comes to doing drug development, that's not where they shine. And you've got to get it out of academia. You got to start working with a CRO and then taking it forward. That's what we've done. We've partnered with Charles River on this endeavor. They've done our toxicology for us. We've finished that stage now, and we are going to be the first foundation to run a multi-site clinical trial. We're very excited to break the ceiling and do that. And I feel like if we could do that with 600 US patients, then anyone can do it, right? So there is a path forward if you choose that that's the path you want to take.
Awesome. I think that's fantastic advice. I think we should end it there because there's so much more here, but I think we're leaving people hopefully with inspiration. It's not just a vague concept. This is actionable.
It's actionable.
Okay, very cool. Well, I'm very happy for you. I'm proud of what you're doing. So I know you from FOXG1, but now I know you as Citizen Health as well. So I'm just really glad you're doing what you're doing.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thanks, Nasha. Okay, see ya.